Well, our next guest, she landed at 5:30 from Florida this morning, but her tennis journey has started way back as a junior player, and she has progressed through every position in her favourite game in women's tennis to be president and then chairman and CEO of the WTA. Please welcome to the stage, Stacey Allaster.
Love the music, thank you. Now, Justin, Ash Barty, she's been kicking it. Ash Barty is a 17-year-old Australian. She's been in 3 Grand Slam finals and doubles. She is a name to watch, and she's doing you proud. 2013 has been one of the most exciting and historic years in women's tennis. And so much of that has to do with Singapore. It is such a pleasure for me to be here. It's my 3rd time in about 4 months, and I look forward to becoming a local. By the time we're done, I know this will be my second home. Let me share with you also some of the enthusiasm why 2013 has been so special. It's the 40th anniversary of the WTA, and let me set the stage. This photo is probably the most famous photo in women's tennis. These are the true pioneers that provided the opportunity for our athletes of today to earn the millions that they do. These are the original 9. Led by Billie Jean King. It was 1970. The guys were making $12,000. The women were making $2,000. And Billie said, this is just not right. She found someone, a promoter named Gladys Heldman, and Gladys said, Billie, I'll find a sponsor, and we'll have a women's-only event. That event took place in Houston in 1970 for $5,000. That was the first women's professional event outside of the establishment. These 9 women crossed the line. They stood up to the establishment, the likes of Tennis Australia, Wimbledon, the USTA, and said, it's just not right the way you're treating us. And so they literally had to sign a $1 contract to be able to play in that event. And for the next several years, they were sort of ostracized and blackballed from being able to play the Grand Slams. Judy Dalton, an Australian, could not play with the Slazenger racket. So they really were the brave soldiers who stood up and created the empowerment and the advancement of women, which really, that's what the WTA ultimately reflects. In 1973, Billie Jean King got 63 women together in the Gloucester Hotel, and she said, we need one voice. The men don't want us. They were forming their own tour. And she said, we can't be disparate. We have to join and form our own association. And so it was on June 20th, 1973, that the Women's Tennis Association was born. Thus, it was fitting at Wimbledon this year that we gathered together to celebrate 40 years of history and pay tribute to Billie. On this stage are all of the women who have held the world #1 singles ranking. They are the stars. They are the ones that have made women's tennis the #1 professional sport for women. It's one of those moments in your career where you go, wow, to be on that stage with them, all looking at me. We talked and celebrated the success of going from $1 million in prize money to $118 million in 2013. But where the most amount of pride came from these women is when I said to them that it has been a labor of love. For all of us involved in women's tennis, it's not just about forehands and backhands, although we love the sport. It truly is about the empowerment and the advancement of women and gender equality. I certainly can speak very passionately about women's tennis and equality, but no one does it better than our founder, Billie Jean King, and the stars of the WTA. So to celebrate our 40th anniversary, we've got 2 short little videos to show you. So I'll have Pan, you can roll Time Flies, please.
A great way to win a championship.
Has it really been 40 years? How time flies. What started with 9 women and $1 has grown to thousands, living the dream, our dream. We were athletes who wanted to compete, and along the way, we made history. Determined to win, not just for ourselves, but for women everywhere. And once we got started, baby, we were unstoppable. Each new champion standing taller than the last. Oh, how time flies. Not like a moonball, like a backhand down the line. And the champions we inspire grow up so fast, and we marvel with pride as they rewrite the future. Time flies, and you're left breathless, astounded by your labor of love. We've come a long way, baby. What does it take to live our dream? A better question is, what must we give?
Determination, passion, commitment.
40 years ago, we gave women's tennis a life and changed the lives of women forever.
Opportunity. Breaking barriers.
We challenged and the brave responded, building a legacy together. Courage.
Focus. Champion.
We give up everything to practice, 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 gaining the confidence to play out our own destinies. Inspiration.
History.
We give our intensity, our passion, and show the world that we are unstoppable.
Equality. Living a dream.
We give our all, and the rewards are limitless. And through it all, we give our love. We've come a long way.
We've come a long way, baby.
There we go. Billy's dream was that any girl in the world, if she was good enough, could play women's pro tennis. This slide here represents the current top 10 in the world, all from 10 different nations. It was history last year, 2012, when this occasion happened. The first time in our 39 years of history that 10 different nations were represented in the top 10. And today, over 92 countries are represented. It was also Billy's dream that a women's only WTA would be commercially successful. And these athletes are living her dream. They are the most financially successful, most marketable athletes in the world. They transcend sport, whether it be their lifestyle and entertainment interests. Maria building her Sugarpova line or candy line. Serena Williams going to Africa and building schools for children. And Li Na, named Time Magazine's one of the top 100 most influential people in the world. I have said that Li Na is the player of this decade who will have the most impact on the growth of women's tennis, and I look to her as our modern-day Billie Jean King right here in Asia. We started in '73 with 14 events, predominantly in the United States, and when they had their first board meeting after that very famous gathering and establishment of the association in June of 1973, their goal was 2 tournaments a week with 50,000. We're 54 tournaments in 33 countries, and the athletes are competing for 118 million. I think we certainly have surpassed all of the dreams that those women felt we could achieve. And here we are now in Asia Pacific with the crown jewel, the season finale, the top 8 will be home here from 2014 to 2018. We've been in Asia a long time. Next week I'll travel to Tokyo to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Pan-Pacific Open. The following week I'll head to China, where we'll celebrate 10 years of the China Open. But really, the WTA's focus for this region started in 2008 when we opened an office in Beijing. We have an office in Florida, we have an office in London, and we have an office in Beijing. The first, certainly, women's professional sport to set up shop there. And our strategy was sort of multi-pronged with about 5 different key pillars. We believe we must be in market with a mix of a few expats and more locals. But we needed to be on the ground with live events. When we started it in 2008, we had 2 events in China. In 2014, we will have 8 events. We're on the ground working with the CTA and the China Open to promote, educate the people of China just about our sport. Getting rackets in people's hands is a fundamental to our long-term goal, to be able to have a sustainable fan base. Big events. We all know that big events draw so much attention and power to consumers and to sponsors. We have 4 equal prize money events on the WTA. 1 in California, 1 in Miami, 1 in Madrid, and in 2009 we awarded Beijing one of those equal prize money events. The athletes will be competing in just over 2 weeks' time in Beijing for just over $5 million. A long way from that $5,000 event in Houston. Media. We start the tour in January. We have an event in Shenzhen. Obviously, we're in Australia, leading into the Australian Open. And then the tour travels the world, and we don't come back to Asia until this time. So it was obviously critically important to fill the gap. It's a 365, 24/7 of media, obviously on broadcast, web, and obviously now social media being a gift to women's tennis. Today we have 70 million fans following women's tennis through social media channels. 40% of that 70 come from China. And here we are today, Singapore. It was with great excitement, I think Lionel is still smiling, and I am as well, that I had the honor to award Singapore the WTA's crown jewel for 2014 through 2018. And like China, this really is an opportunity to build our business in Southeast Asia. And when you travel for 19 hours, one of the best things to do about your speech is to show another video and a little self-promotion for what is going to happen at the Singapore Indoor Stadium next October. So I think we've got one more video, gentlemen.
Congratulations, Singapore. Congratulations, Singapore, on becoming the new host for the WTA Championships in 2014.
Congratulations, Singapore, on being the next host of the WTA Championships.
Congratulations, Singapore, on becoming the next host of the WTA Championships starting in 2014. I can't wait to play in front of the great fans, and I know that Singapore will take it to the next level of success.
I'm so excited. I'll see you in 2014.
So to get ready for the WTA Championships in Singapore, we intend to be in market just like we were in China. We see this as a terrific opportunity to establish an office, to have our big event, the season finale, with the top 8 singles players and the top 8 doubles players. We intend, together with our partners at WSG, STB, and the Singapore Sports Council, to transform what currently today is a 5-day tennis event in Istanbul to a 10 to 11-day international celebration and create that real fusion of sport and entertainment. We're in the midst of hiring a president or a CEO of Asia Pacific, and that person will reside here in the office of Singapore. The board is making a big bet on Asia, and again, we believe we should have a senior leadership here in the market to drive the short-term and long-term growth of the business. The championships tournament director normally jets in and jets out. Melissa Pine has been named the tournament director. She'll be relocating from London. She will live here year-round, being part of this community and working with WSG and STB and Singapore Sports Council to build together this transformation of the event that we want. Obviously, there'll be the marketing element that will come with this, and most importantly, if we go to, here we go, to the photo of those little girls holding the Billie Jean King trophy. That's really what it's all about. To use these championships to inspire the people of Singapore to live a better life through sport. And having more young girls and boys and men and women play our sport is definitely our #1 priority. So we look forward to being here. I thank you for the opportunity. I'm now going to invite William Pfeiffer, the CEO of Dragon Gate, but also a very good friend of women's tennis. We have a global advisory council made up of global business leaders, and William is one of our key global advisory council members.
Thank you, Stacey. Please, I am very lucky to be here today to do one of the things that I like to do most, which is just to speak with Stacey Allaster about women's tennis. And so, it's just very moving, and thank you very much for that wonderful presentation and overview. It's really just such an amazing year, a 40-year anniversary of the Women's Tennis Association, thinking back to Billie Jean King and her career, and what an amazing career she had. I think her career prize money was less than $2 million. And you look at now Serena, who just at the U.S. Open, with that one tournament win, won $2.6 million plus another $1 million bonus for winning that. The "you've come a long way, baby" phrase really does come to mind. How has women's tennis and the WTA made women's tennis the #1 professional women's sport in the world? How has this happened?
Well, I think we had Billie. Had she not chosen tennis as her sport, I'm not sure we would have had the growth at the same acceleration rate that we have. In addition to Billie, we've had other great leaders, Chris Evert, Martina Navratilova, that have stood on her shoulders to advance the movement. And Venus Williams, who championed for equal prize money. We've only had equal prize money at all 4 of the Grand Slams since 2007. So that's not that long ago. So great athletes, great iconic global ambassadors. We've always been very fortunate to have promoters who believed in women's tennis, took the risk, and wanted to take the sport of women's tennis to another level. So together with 54 events, and now with our partners at STB and WSG, people like that. We've also had great sponsors. We're talking about the tobacco days. It was Virginia Slims who gave us our origination, then went to Kraft. And then we had 8 fantastic years with Sony Ericsson, who obviously are looking for that return on investment, but really, really wanted to drive women's tennis and the brand of women. So those are a lot of the reasons. And I think just at a macro level, our sport, whether it be for governments, particularly in certain parts of the world, tennis is seen as a gender neutral. Yes. It's okay for women to play tennis. And so I think that's been advantageous to us.
I mean, you think about Singapore. Here we are. Welcome back, Stacey. We're so happy to have you here. We know you've flown a long way just to be with us this morning. I think there were 40 cities bidding for the championships. How was Singapore chosen? Really with Singapore, what are your plans going forward? Do they have the championships for the next 5 years, starting from next year?
Well, we did. It was over a year-long process with 43 expressions of interest, and we narrowed it down to 3 finalist candidate cities. Singapore, I can tell them now because it's over, but after they presented to our board, we had some board members say to me that they had goosebumps. I think we all saw the strategic opportunity of building the business in Southeast Asia, and that we thought we were in Asia, but really we've just been in China. Yeah. So that was a key element, and I think Lionel and Andrew Giorgio helped us see that opportunity. But more importantly, it was confidence in delivery. This is an innovative promoter with F1 and the Olympic Games, world-class infrastructure. Can't wait to be part of the sports hub. They shared our vision for the championships, which is to really transform it and to have all of those other lifestyle aspects, whether it be concerts, women in business, leadership conference, trade symposiums, making it much more than it currently is today. As an organization, we share the same values, that we want to use women's tennis to inspire youth to lead a better life. And last but not least, we trust them.
Yeah.
I think Andrew Giorgio said to us during that presentation to the board, we're going to be your partner. We're going to be the caretaker of this crown jewel. And when we hand it back to you, it will be much more valuable. But we believe them, we trust them, and last but not least, we really like them. And if you're going to do business with people, it's sure nice to do business with people who you like and you respect.
That's very important, and Singapore wins on that. Congratulations to Singapore again on that incredible victory in getting the championships here, and everyone is very excited about that. But, of course, tournaments are great, but without the players, there is no tennis. There are no tournaments, and, obviously local players from individual countries bring in viewership and fans from, that country from which they come. In Asia, we've seen the tremendous growth of tennis, but you look at the top 10 list that you had up there, and you have Lina, and now we have so many. 9 of the 54 tournaments are in China. What impact has Lina had on tennis, sports in general, and what would be her legacy going forward?
I think she just accelerated the WTA's Asia-Pacific strategy. It's not a coincidence that in 2008 we had 2 events in China. In 2014 we'll have 8, and one of them will be in Wuhan, her home city. Our television amount of broadcast hours is up over 100%. Our viewership is over 60%. And in the end, from that championships bid process, 2 of the 3 finalist candidate cities were from this region, Tianjin, China, and Singapore. And I think ultimately all of that has to do with Lee helping to put women's tennis on the map on a regular basis. And, she's just a wonderful ambassador for China, for Asia Pacific, and for women.
Well, at these tournaments, it's television that brings in a lot of viewership, and of course now you've got the online aspect of viewership around the world. But really, it's very important to get bums on seats, to get people into the stadiums and to watch the matches. How do you go about ensuring that audiences will be there? And what is it that one would do to sort of build and boost the attractiveness of the live experience for the audiences that do go and visit?
Well, I think I'm Canadian. I know I might sound a little American, but I'm truly Canadian. We didn't have a tennis player, and I used to run the Canadian Open, and we had 150,000 fans coming to watch. So it can be done without local stars. In Istanbul, we had 16,500 watch the finals of the WTA Championships in Istanbul, which far exceeded our dream. So I think, first and foremost, it starts with understanding your market and having a promoter who's going to have the feel to make the event locally relevant. Our partnership with STB and WSG and Singapore Sports Council, we have so much confidence in their presentation to make this much more than just sport. When people ask me what I do, I tell them I'm in the entertainment business. I don't tell them I'm in the sports business. Almost 50% of the fans who come to tennis events don't play tennis. They want to come to a happening. I'm not a race car fan. I will be maybe after this weekend. But this is Formula One. It's the place to be. And that's what these championships will be about. So I think it's creating the right business model, the right presentation with the fusion of entertainment fully being wrapped around world-class sport. And I think also it's very important that the event is accessible. And I know that that's something that our partners are working at. You know, in Istanbul, we wanted a full house. If we could show a full house, it would show the world the excitement. And that will be really important. And your price points, we know corporates will support it. So let's make sure, though, we have tickets that are affordable. And also, let's make sure that we have seats for the average fan who can get up close, because they're the ones that are going to bring us the ambiance and the energy, and the players will feed off of that. Let's not put all the corporates down below and they're sitting in the hospitality and the seats look empty. So a lot of those variables will come into it, and I think one of the things we're really excited about is having a 10-day fan fest where it will be open to the public for free. That'll be in the precinct of the sports hub. So this really will be an accessible, world-class sport entertainment event. And I think that'll be the key to making sure that the stadium is full.
That's wonderful. I mean, you know, going to the matches and watching that is one thing, but when you see people come out and their families come out and there's so much more activity around just the match itself over the several days of the tournaments, you know, then that really gives such a wonderful boost to the whole economy, and the environment in general is just enhanced by that. And in Singapore does that better than anybody, I think. You know, I happen to know that you, as chairman and CEO of the Women's Tennis Association, have recently signed a new long-term agreement. You know, there are a lot of things on your plate. There is a huge responsibility that you have to the sport, and I think to women's sport in general, as women's tennis does, you know, drive the visibility of women athletes around the world. You know, what is at the top of your to-do list going forward, say for the next 5 years?
Well, it won't come as a surprise, like many of you in the room. The list is long. Obviously, staging the best championships in the history of the WTA is at the very top of my list. And I have no doubt that we will, together, achieve that. That really, the championships is the engine that drives the WTA. It represents almost 35 to 40% of our net operating revenues. So when Andrew Giorgio said to me when he hands it back to us that it will be more valuable, it's critically important that these championships deliver. That aside, I think, you know, one of my responsibilities to the organization is to try and create new assets like the championships that can create new diversified streams of revenue and sustainable cash flow. All organizations need cash. It's like oxygen to grow, and this organization is no different. I think we have this real opportunity to take a traditional sport that doesn't like to change, and a traditional audience that likes tennis the way it is, but we know we have a younger fan base who consumes their sport entertainment in an entirely different way, to be able to use those digital platforms to our advantage and package up and distribute the content the way in which they want it, when they want it, and how they want it, with more, I think, with that entertainment feel, so that's important. If anyone caught on the screen, there are 7 tennis players on the Forbes top 100 or top 10 female list. My goal is to have 10 tennis players, to have all 10. Well, with respect to the other sports, but I want to have all 10 as tennis players. We're 118 million in prize money today. 5 years, if we could stretch, I'm 5'1" on a good hair day, 200 million would be the goal. If that's happening, it means the business is growing. That means the members' asset values and their operating profits are good. And so I think from a business perspective, it's all of those. And last, and probably where I feel more pressure than anything, is that I am the only female CEO in the world of an international sport organization. And I feel immense pressure to help create the next generation of leadership in women's sport. I need to be successful as a female CEO, as a wife, as a mother. People asked me during the interview process, how are you going to do this job? You have 2 kids. I said, well, the last guy had 3 kids. He did okay.
That's a great answer.
So, you know, I looked quickly, Jasper, at the speaker roster. It's a good ratio. 10% of the speakers at this conference are women. I get to tip my hat. Normally when I speak at a conference, I might be the token. So our industry has to do a much better job at providing opportunities and personally, helping to pave the way so that more women can enjoy sport, whether it be on the court or off the court on the business side.
So who was your inspiration? Here you are as CEO, chairman of the WTA, an incredible job that you're doing. It's a very visible position. You're going to be interviewed by the BBC in about an hour. So we'll cut this short in a little bit. But, who were your inspirations in your life?
Well, I think obviously growing up, many of you, my mother and my grandmother, two hardworking women who instilled in me the values of hard work and honesty. And so I owe a lot to both of them. And today it's pretty simple. It's my husband who stays home full time so that I can travel the world. And he takes great care of our children, Jack and Alexander, 11 and 9. So they certainly inspire me and give me the juice that I need to get on the plane and come to Singapore and to leave them. And last but not least, Billie Jean King. To be able to lead the organization that she founded is just an immense privilege. And Billie completely inspires me.
Well, she's an amazing woman, and so are you. But, the women's tennis viewership now is just skyrocketing. I think that Serena Williams and Vika Azarenka in the finals of the U.S. Open had 20 million people in the U.S. alone watch that match. Just finally, I know you're probably not supposed to say this in your position, but, who is your favorite tennis player to watch? Who do you enjoy watching most?
You're going to get me in trouble with a question like that.
There's not many people. It's just you
not
and me.
Not many people. The Twitter's going up and down.
Forget the camera.
Allaster said her favorite. Look, the real answer is I do enjoy watching all of them. They are truly the best female athletes in the world. I can't help but pinch myself when I do watch Serena. We're watching greatness. She is truly one of the best of all time, and I can't wait for her to come to Singapore next year. So definitely is a thrill to watch her. This Victoria Azarenka, she's going to push Serena, and so that's a nice rivalry that is developing. And then I think I really get excited when I'm watching the next generation, when I watch an Ash Barty, when I watch Sloane Stephens, an American who is almost on the verge of clicking into the top 10, Madison Keys, Laura Robson. Because when I watch them, I see that they're the future, and they're really exciting to watch.
Well, it'll be wonderful to have these top women tennis players come here and perform at the championships in Singapore starting from next year. But, for today, we're just thrilled to have you here. Stacey Allaster, Chairman, CEO of the Women's Tennis Association. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. Thank you very much.